I overheard her say, "Don't worry, girls, he's clueless. By the time he realizes what he signed, the house will already be in my name." And I swear, in that split second, something cold and electric went through my spine. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. I just froze with my hand still on the door handle, listening as my own wife laughed from the dining room like she'd just pulled off the heist of the century. She had no idea I was home early. But the thing about betrayal is, you don't run from it. You stand still. You listen. You let the truth burn you awake. My wife, Olivia, was always obsessed with appearances. Designer everything, curated social media feeds, meticulously crafted brunch photos, with her high-status friend group. I never cared about any of that. I'm a quiet guy, routine, steady job, financially careful. I'm not flashy. I don't impress people with big purchases. I never felt the need to. But she did. And apparently, she needed me to do it too. For months, she'd been pushing hard for this giant, modern house, way beyond what made sense for our budget. I had been firm. We could upgrade eventually, but not now. Not like this. Not with numbers. That didn't make sense. But Olivia didn't take no like a normal person. She took it as a challenge. And that day, listening to her brag to her friends, I learned exactly how she planned to win. One of the girls giggled. "So he signs the paperwork tomorrow, and it's all yours?" Olivia answered like she'd rehearsed it. My lawyer friend redrew the documents. He thinks it's just a mortgage contract, but the deed will put the house under my sole name. He never reads anything. He'll just sign. They all laughed. My wife thought she was about to legally trap me. She thought I would blindly sign away hundreds of thousands of dollars because she fluttered her eyelashes and handed me a pen. Something inside me clicked off. Something else switched on. I stepped back from the door before anyone saw me. I walked to the garage quietly, and I stood there for a long minute, letting the humiliation settle into something sharper, cleaner, more focused. Because here's the thing. When someone you love betrays you, the heartbreak is loud, but the strategy that follows? That's silent. I went back inside like nothing was wrong, greeted her with a tired smile, kissed her cheek, said work was exhausting. She acted sweet and dismissive, like she couldn't wait for me to leave again, so she could continue bragging to her friends. I sat on the couch, scrolling through my phone, but really I was putting the pieces together. She had altered legal documents behind my back. She was planning to spring them on me at the signing tomorrow. She believed absolutely that I would go along with it. And if I didn't, she had already prepared the narrative. I was the bad husband who ruined her dream. The betrayal wasn't emotional. Not really. It was strategic. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was trying to use me. And in her mind, that was worse, because she thought I wasn't smart enough to notice, brave enough to challenge her, or calm enough to play along. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. Instead, I watched her that evening with a new distance, like observing a stranger pretending to be familiar. Everything she said suddenly sounded rehearsed. The unnecessary compliments, the feigned affection, the exaggerated excitement about our future. She poured me a glass of wine, sat close, leaned her head on my shoulder. It was all an act. I let her perform. I even held her hand. But inside, I was already rewriting the entire story. The next morning, she was practically vibrating with smug anticipation as we drove to the real estate office. She wore her most expensive outfit, the one she used for important social posts. The car smelled like her expensive perfume. She kept talking about how big moments define marriages. She had no idea that this moment was about to define our ending. When we arrived, she was all smiles, rushing to greet the agent. She placed a folder on the table, the one with the falsified paperwork. She positioned it in front of me like a magician unveiling a final trick. "Just sign right here," she said lightly, tapping the page. But I saw it instantly. The deed transfer, the revised ownership structure, her lawyer friend's watermark. And the worst part, she watched my face with a tiny, triumphant smile. She wanted me to see it. She wanted me to know she'd won. I felt something settle in my chest, solid and steady. Not anger. Not sadness. Resolve. I signed everything she wanted me to sign. At least she thought I did, because I had already spent half the night preparing a counterplan. I had contacted a lawyer friend. I had reviewed real contracts, and I had crafted a solution so clean, so perfect, that she would never see it coming. I wasn't going to argue with her. I wasn't going to confront her. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of watching me break. I was going to let her walk confidently, no, arrogantly, straight into her own downfall. And she was going to hit the ground hard. Everything was already in motion. She was celebrating a victory that was never hers, and I was quietly building the stage for her humiliation. This wasn't going to be loud. This wasn't going to be messy. This was going to be exact. A clean reversal. A perfect comeuppance. I remember the moment her pen hit the table after signing the last page. She exhaled like she had just secured her position as queen of some imaginary empire. She even whispered, almost to herself, "Finally, my house." She didn't say our house. She said my house. And the funniest part? She still believed she had outsmarted me. She believed the documents in that folder were the ones I had just signed. She believed her lawyer friend's backroom edits were still intact. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that while she slept the night before, I had already swapped her altered packet with the original lender-approved contracts. The real ones. The ones that placed the property in my name only. Her lawyer friend wasn't as smart as she thought. He emailed her every revision. And his email autofilled my address too, because months ago, she'd used my laptop to send something quickly and never logged out of her synced accounts. So every single message they secretly exchanged. Every version of her trapping plan. Every smug little note about how he'll never check the details. It all went straight to me, and by dawn, I had everything I needed to destroy her scheme. Still, I kept my face neutral as ever while she bounced around the office, excitedly chatting with the agent about next steps. She even joked about throwing a housewarming party just for the girls, as if I was some accessory to her new lifestyle. I just nodded along. I played the supportive, oblivious husband she believed me to be. The more smug she became, the quieter I grew. That's always been my tell. But she was too high on victory to notice. The agent printed out a final copy of the deed transfer for review. Olivia snatched it up before I could even reach for it, flipping through without reading a single line. She didn't want details. She wanted validation. "I'll take a picture for my group chat," she said, lifting her phone. But the agent gently stopped her. Sorry, no photos of documents allowed." She rolled her eyes dramatically, annoyed that the universe dared interfere with her moment. I watched her closely. She didn't see it. She didn't see anything. The deed with my name, the mortgage under my account, the signature confirmations with my identifiers, and her, just a spouse listed under non-borrowing partner, with no legal claim to the property. She was celebrating paperwork that explicitly excluded her, and she couldn't read past the thrill of imagined power. When we left the office, she practically skipped to the car. I walked slower, breathing in the weight of what was coming. I wasn't done yet, not even close. This wasn't the moment to reveal anything. Not here. Not yet. The humiliation she was owed needed an audience. It needed the same crowd she'd impressed, manipulated, and weaponized. And fortunately, that opportunity was already scheduled. Her precious housewarming party. She had been planning it for weeks, inviting her friends, her parents, her lawyer friend, and even a few co-workers she pretended to like. She called it the night everything changes for us. Really, it was the night she would stand center stage and show off what she believed she had taken from me. So I let her plan the entire thing. I even helped. She ordered thousands of dollars worth of decor. I approved. She hired a private bartender. Approved. She got custom signage reading, "Welcome to Olivia's new home." Approved again. Every swipe of her card tightened the rope. She didn't realize she was wrapping around herself. The night arrived fast. Our new home was filled with chatter, artificial laughter, and the clinking of champagne flutes. The girls swarmed Olivia like she was royalty. She posed for pictures, talking loudly about finally upgrading her life, and how some men just need a little push to step up. People laughed. I drank water and watched. Her parents were there too, both smug in their own way, congratulating her on her independence. Her mother clapped her hands when she saw the sign with Olivia's name on it. Isn't it wonderful? Our girl finally has something of her own. I just smiled politely. The bartender poured drinks. Her friends circled like hungry hyenas. The lawyer friend strutted around with the confidence of someone who thought he was the mastermind behind a flawless plan. Olivia clinked her glass, called for attention, and then launched into the speech she had clearly practiced a dozen times. I just want to thank everyone for being here tonight, she began, glowing under the chandelier like she genuinely believed she'd achieved something on her own. This house represents new beginnings, my future, everything I've worked hard for. My future. I've worked hard. I felt an almost surreal calm. Then came the line she'd been waiting to brag about for weeks. And of course, I have to thank my husband, she said, sliding an arm around me. He really came through for me. Signed everything without hesitation. That's real love, right? Trust. People applauded. I felt her squeeze my shoulder, a gesture meant to signal possession. That was my cue. I took a slow breath, stepped out from under her arm, and said, "Actually, I should clarify something." Her smile faltered for a millisecond, just enough to betray her confusion. Perfect. Everyone turned to me. Phones lowered. Voices quieted. "Olivia," I said gently, "you didn't read the documents, did you?" Her brows pulled together. "What are you talking about?" "The deed," I continued. "You assumed it had your name on it." A few people exchanged glances. I reached into my jacket and pulled out 2 envelopes. One white, one red. I handed her the white one. "This is the finalized deed. You can open it." Her fingers trembled just a little, not enough for anyone else to notice, but I caught it. She opened it, scanning automatically for her name, and didn't find it. Her eyes widened. Her breathing hitched. What is this?" she whispered. "That," I said calmly, "is the house you've been bragging about all night. Purchased in my name. Signed legally. Verified. Approved." Her lawyer friend stepped forward, frowning. "That can't be right." I cut him off. "You made illegal alterations to a contract, and I have every email you sent her, including instructions on how to deceive me." Gasps. Whispers. Eyes shifting. Her face collapsed into panic. I handed her the red envelope. "And this," I said, "is the copy of those emails, along with the lender's confirmation of the authentic documents they verified. If anyone would like to fact-check, feel free." Phones came out. Screens glowed. People read. Her friends turned on her instantly. "Olivia, what's going on? You told us he was signing everything to you." Her parents looked horrified. The lawyer friend went pale. The room shifted into chaos. Olivia tried to speak, tried to grab my arm, but I stepped back. And that's when I said the line I had waited to deliver. "You planned to trap me, but all you did was expose yourself." The room exploded into whispers. She crumbled. Her humiliation was total, and I walked out of that house without looking back. I didn't rush. That was the first thing I noticed when I stepped outside into the cold night air. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't angry. I wasn't even relieved. I was simply done. Behind me, the house was erupting. Voices overlapped, rising in panic and accusation. Olivia's name bounced off the marble walls like a warning siren she could no longer outrun. People were asking for explanations, demanding them, whispering the same word over and over. Why? Why had she lied? Why had she bragged? Why had she tried to steal something that wasn't hers? But I didn't care to listen. I walked down the driveway the same way I had walked into the building earlier that day. Calm, unreadable, and prepared. Only now, the plan was complete. The truth was public. The mask was gone. And the woman who once believed she could manipulate my entire future was standing in a room full of witnesses, exposed by her own arrogance. My phone started vibrating before I even reached my car. Her name lit up the screen, Olivia. Then again, and again, call after call pouring in like a flood she couldn't control. I unlocked the car, sat down, and set the phone face up on the passenger seat. It buzzed nonstop, dancing across the leather like it was possessed. On the sixth call, I finally turned the screen downward. Silence never felt so purposeful. I drove away slowly, the house shrinking in my rearview mirror until it was nothing but a distant glow. I imagined the chaos inside, her friends turning their judgmental eyes on her, her lawyer friend scrambling to defend himself, her parents realizing everything they had bragged about was built on a lie. I imagined her panic, her unraveling expression, the desperation settling in as she realized she no longer controlled the narrative. By the time I reached my hotel, the calls had evolved into text messages. Dozens of them. At first, "We need to talk. Please come back. You're misunderstanding everything." Then, "You blindsided me. How could you humiliate me like that? This is your fault." Then the longest one, full of excuses and fake tears. "I only did it because I wanted us to be secure. I thought if I had the house in my name, I could protect us. You're overreacting. We can fix this if you come back and explain to everyone that you misunderstood the paperwork." I didn't respond. Not to the lies. Not to the manipulation. Not to her new attempts at revisionist history. My silence was louder than anything she could type. I checked into the room, sat down on the edge of the bed, and only then let my breath fully release. The weight of months, the deceit, the little comments, the subtle control attempts, the constant pressure to measure up to her friends' fantasies, finally slid off me. For the first time in a long time, I felt like myself again. But I knew the storm wasn't done. People like her don't surrender. They scramble. Sure enough, minutes later, my phone vibrated again. This time from her mother, then her father, then her lawyer friend, all saying some version of, "You need to come back and explain," or "You made her look bad," or "You should have talked privately." The irony made me laugh. She tried to trap me into permanent financial submission, and I was expected to worry about hurting her reputation? I let the messages pile up, one after another, until the phone dimmed from inactivity. I went to the window, pulled back the curtain, and watched the distant city lights shimmer like they were waiting for me. My future was somewhere out there, far away from her. The next morning, just after sunrise, I took the final step. I opened a folder, digital, not physical, that contained every piece of evidence, the emails, the altered drafts, her messages bragging to her friends about getting the house for free, the recordings she didn't know synced from her smartwatch to the cloud. It was all there, organized, time-stamped, undeniable. I didn't send it to her. People like her don't need explanations. They need consequences. Instead, I forwarded everything to my lawyer with a single line: "File for divorce immediately." He responded 10 minutes later. "Understood. This is more than enough to protect you." Then, as a courtesy, because I believe in closure, not cruelty, I sent Olivia one final message: "All communication can now go through my attorney." Nothing more. That was the moment the calls stopped, the moment the texts froze, the moment her access to me ended permanently. But the repercussions? Those kept going. My lawyer later told me she tried to fight for partial ownership of the house. The court laughed her claim out of the room. The evidence made it clear this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was an attempted fraud. She left the hearing with nothing but a stern warning and a legal bill bigger than her ego. Her lawyer friend? He was reported to the state bar for document tampering. He lost his job. And according to a whisper thread from someone who attended the same hearing, he blamed her for everything. Her parents? They stayed quiet. Apparently, humility hits harder when the neighbors know the details. Her friends? Most of them disappeared. Turns out loyalty isn't their strong suit. As for the beautiful house she wanted to plaster her name on, it became my sanctuary. Not a trophy, not a victory symbol, just a peaceful place to rebuild. I moved in slowly, deliberately, one box at a time, one breath at a time. No chaos, no manipulation, no shouting from another room about what I should be doing. Just quiet, the kind of quiet that lets you remember who you are. Months passed, and I started feeling something I hadn't in years. Clarity. I cooked for myself. I slept without tension. I made decisions without checking how they might affect someone's fantasy of Instagram perfection. People say healing feels like rising. For me, it felt like remembering. Remembering I'm not a pawn, not a paycheck, not a stepping stone, and definitely not someone's property. Sometimes, when I walk through the house, I think about how close I came to losing everything, to being locked into a financial prison built by someone who smiled while plotting behind my back. But then I look around. I see the life I saved, the future I reclaimed, the peace I earned, and I know the truth. She didn't ruin me. She exposed herself, and I walked away with something she'll never have. Not now, not ever. A clean conscience and a life that finally belongs to me.